tumor on his neck, and the veteran said they'd have to cut him from ear to ear, cut it out, he'd lose his voice, and they weren't sure that they still could heal him, and they weren't going to have to give him chemotherapy. He chose not to do that, and a friend brought him to me and said, could you make him some oil? So I had a little extra marijuana laying around, so I made him the oil, and
it went down, and he wasn't talking.
His tumor went down.
You put it on externally or
no? Internally. Internally, yes. So he took it. He was taking it, and his tumor went down to about half the size, and he was getting his voice back. When I first talked to him, he could only whisper. He could barely make any sound. And after he was taking it for a couple weeks, he had sound back to his voice. The tumor went down. He was sleeping. He was feeling better. Then the police kicked in my door.
They were documenting it because they were going to show Governor Patterson.
Yeah, we wanted to document it to show Governor Patterson. Then the police kicked in my door and arrested me and took the oil, and he had no more oil, and it came back, and he wound up dying.
He ended up dying?
Yeah, yeah, and it was curing him, but he couldn't get any more oil.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about this, the fact that he's using it for spiritual reasons, but you're connecting with spirit without that? I mean, do you think it's possible he could connect with spirit without the marijuana?
You keep going there, but why should I?
He seems to have
You keep going there.
Because I think we're naturally spiritual beings, and we don't need substances.
But I don't think she could heal.
No, but the medical stuff, I agree.
Do you do mantras? Do you do mantras?
I have done. I like just simple meditation. I mean, I think we're basically spiritual beings that we don't need anything.
What's the difference between meditating and smoking a joint to get to the same place?
We're using something external to us to get us to an internal place.
Well, just like she's saying about power objects, that's something external to get you to that place too.
I do really feel like we're supposed to be webbings, right? My body is a webbing, my light bodies are many webbings, I'm being with you guys, that's many webbings. Those are just examples. Where I'm going with this is saying he's acting many ways as an individual, but many ways as a priest, as a community activator, as a cosmic servant. So this is a person whose lifestyle and light bodies have so many tentacles everywhere. Right. This is the poster child for using objects and chemicals, because we are chemical. Like, whether I drink, if I drink more water, I do better.
I don't think it's always necessary.
Can you get addicted to skulls, do you think?
You can get addicted to anything. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying you shouldn't use it.
You're a sweetheart.
You can do whatever you want. I mean, really, it's okay if it works for you. But I think there's something. I'd like to be more organic in a sense.
A lot of the masters.
I'm not saying you should do it.
Okay.
You know?
No, I know you're not. But
and you know, a lot of the paths that we have where we're working energy, we know that there's times we're supposed to like maybe go on a beach and swim a lot or breathe really deeply with the oxygen. There's other times where we want to be in a cave and maybe have fire and cigarettes or I don't know what. But like there's alternations, because then we do a fast and we stop everything. Like we might even do a fast where we stop even, you know, visiting our wonderful super lovers and stuff. So you're supposed to work as best you can as a human being, seeing how do I do, you know, with each one of these tools or portals. So where is my mastery showing up? What is my subconscious telling me? What is my higher conscious repeating to me? Like, well, this is how it looks when you do that. This is kind of what it feels like when you go over here, you know. And ideally, we get more and more aware of how these boundary states show up, and then to have the extreme joy and the orgasmic like intention to say, I can combine all of these, you know, like to get past things like, well, you know, did I plug in my computer? Oops, no battery. So but to get to like, I can really, like your nature is to be a lot of light, right? So you're supposed to flicker many, many ways, and you keep flickering. The faster your flickering rates go, the more you tap in and you plug in with lots of tools.
Can you turn that way? Because I want. Can you come in on the feather that she has in her hair?
Goody.
I keep looking at that feather. Can you tell us about that feather?
Oh.
What kind of feather is it? Because I want to know the Indian way of healing with feathers. I don't have any idea.
Good question. The woman who made these is pretty humble, so she just markets them in a simple plastic bag, and in the bag she writes, this is how to care for this healing feather, and this is a healing feather. Basically, that's all she says. Each feather, she's put some keywords, and I think that's arbitrary. She just charges it like that. I can't tell you what this feather is. There's like 5 different species that went into making that, including probably some chickens who are in factories in China. And the top ones are more like wild bird.
So you heal them?
And I use them because...
How much is that doggy in the window? No, the rabbit.
Okay, so we're going to be going live. We are going live. Sorry, Joe. 212-757-1483. The mics weren't turned up.
So, this topic that we may discuss is Joe Barton and Alan Steinfeld.
And since you can hear us, maybe with the CG, you can take off farther down the rabbit hole because it's cutting off our heads. And, okay. Oh, but you got to keep the whole thing on, otherwise people aren't going to know the number. Yeah, 757-1483. And whenever people are a little bit more relaxed in the control room, you can take off farther down the rabbit hole live so we can see us but still have the numbers showing. I came in, I thought I left my house at 10 minutes after 11, but I must have left much later because I arrived when Susie was coming out of the cab 7 minutes before. So, but anyhow, what we want to do is find out what people are thinking about these provocative topics.
What if we slid down lower? Oh, there.
Yeah, good, great, you did it. You did it, yay. And then also you can zoom in on this because tomorrow there's a rally in Albany, and Joe has figured out a really great way to get there where it's only like $10.
$10 is all it is. Go-to bus.
Go-to bus. How did you Google it up, or how'd you find it?
I just said bus Albany, New York, and they came up in the first 3.
Okay, so Joe and I are going to be leaving, and Posar actually, at almost 8 o'clock.
The regular price is ordinarily $30 each way.
Wow.
So this is some, for June only, they're having a special.
Now, one thing they forgot to put on this card is that the rally's being held at the Capitol building.
I did assume that, yeah.
I'll keep the number up because we want call-ins, and then keep an eye on the telephones so we can get the calls, and then just push them.
Let me take a look at what it says, and when you have a chance.
Oh, here. I've got another one in there.
Oh, okay. I see it. Maybe.
So control room, can you put up the CG so people know the number? Because this is sort of a new experience. This is the second day that I've gone live, and I noticed that it was 4 years ago. My last live show prior to this one on the 21st was, I think, the 16th of June in 2006. So here we are at 2010. So it's been 4 years since I've gone live. I used to have a weekly show.
I don't think, let me take a look at that one.
It's in there. There we go.
As advertised.
Oh, that's a good thing to read off, too. It's not that bad. You want that one? I want to read off this one. This is what got me started on finding out about the good activist groups, and that's CAMP, New York CAMP, Citizens Against Marijuana Prohibition. Right now, 2010, the New York State Legislature is getting ready to vote on a new medical marijuana law, and the media is still waiting for a position from Governor Patterson. We are urging him to stop the prohibition from continuing, which is depriving millions of citizens of their inalienable rights to grow cannabis in their own gardens without being threatened by anyone. We need protection, not permission. We, Citizens Against Marijuana Prohibition, don't worry about it, are standing up and speaking out against the fallacy of allowing legislatures to decide what is right and good for a person to put in their own bodies when there is no harm or danger to others, where there is no victim, there is no crime, Marijuana resinous oil has proven to be the most potent, effective, user-friendly medicinal substance with no harmful side effects and no toxic dose. That means no matter how much you ply into somebody,
Right.
you don't kill rats, nothing dies.
Uh-huh.
The federal government owns 11 patents on its uses, so it cannot accurately be listed as a Schedule I narcotic, no medical value.
Oh, that's a great argument.
I know. I also don't believe in Schedule I anyway, but you know, when they set up Schedule I, they took it away from the Surgeon General and put it under the Attorney General. So you'd think you'd want a doctor to be one that would be qualified to decide what's on Schedule I. Marijuana's oil is a valuable herbal remedy. It is a proven inhibitor of cancer growth and shrinks cancerous tumors. The laws against cannabis were established by fraudulent testimony and fabricated media stories, proven wrong by several official reports, including one by New York City Mayor LaGuardia and one by President Nixon. The continuous persecution of cannabis growers and smokers is a crime being committed under color of law against the people of New York State and in violation of the U.S. Constitution, First and Fourth Amendments. Every public servant sworn to protect and defend the Constitution is duty-bound to overturn and denounce this prohibition. Ignoring the facts is deliberately and criminally negligent. So now we get to the point where if people in government aren't doing their jobs, they might be liable for being thrown in jail. Can you put the number back up? And just thanks. I'm hoping we're going to get a call on this. I also want to say that when I went live on Monday, the call that I most cherished, besides, of course, my good friends Harold and Josh and Shanti, it was from a Hispanic man. And he was saying how important it is to be doing this. And so many more Hispanics and blacks are going to prison. So I think that we should focus on that.
Oh, wow. Well, indeed, the drug laws have been used to incarcerate such a huge percentage of the adult black and Hispanic population that it compares with slavery itself. Right. That there are more people suffering the slavery of prison, and indeed, prison is a form of slavery, a particularly cruel form,
right.
Than the Civil War, literally, in numbers, just more.
Were you around when they had that uprising at the Attica State Prison in the 70s? What was that like? Were you doing public access there?
I didn't treat it in public access. I just sort of watched it play out. But basically, it was a test of the mayor's maleness. The governor's masculinity, and he chose to use unnecessarily big force, and then they had to lie and stuff to cover it so that their shame wouldn't be so great, to blame more of it on the prisoners than was appropriate.
They were saying that 4 guards were captured and that they'd slit their throats, 9 of them, but it turned out later they were all gunshot wounds, and the prisoners didn't have access to guns.
That's a nice example of what we're talking about.
And Kunstler had gone in there to try to negotiate.
Oh, yeah?
He worked for 2 days at it, but he knew the day that he wasn't allowed to go into the prison that was bad news, and he feared that they were being killed, and I think 23 were. They said that they had 450 people empty something like 4,500 rounds, so they were really
shooting away.
Yeah.
You know, I have a good friend, Earl Whitaker, who was a prison guard at Rikers, and they had a uprising, and he was one of the prison guards that the prisoners appreciated as being fair and not cruel. And so he was sort of in the role of a negotiator. And after it was over, they wanted to nail him as a co-conspirator, which had no basis at all. And he feels his story wasn't properly told. And
why don't we get him on the show?
Yeah, that would be good.
Because I think the point that I'm wanting to make with the marijuana activist groups is that if the activist group is not emphasizing emptying the prisons and emptying the cancer wards because of the studies done on cancer, that's not an activist group that's really going to steer us towards freedom. That kind of activist group is really about putting in place monopoly. And right now in Canada, there's a man named Leland Cole who's been an activist for 40 years. And he's also a patient. He needs it. He has a lot of physical problems. But he's saying that 5,400 patients in Canada, which is out of 30 million, it shows it's really hard to legally get the license to have it. But they're starting to come into their grows. And they feel that they're being cased because the raids that still continue to take place, these raids always seem to happen right before harvest. So if they really didn't want them to have marijuana, why would they not pull up their plants when they're little? Why do they wait until they're big? Anyway, if they don't let these people in, then they risk getting their license taken away. So basically, everyone is just quaking in fear. That's what's going on. Even in California, even with the rules as they are, everyone thinks it's been more liberalized, but still people are afraid, and that's why they're settling for these sort of halfway ones, which are really about increasing taxes, and that's why I say it's really an economic problem, because if they were taxing marijuana, they would make maybe $1 billion in California, but the deficit is $8 billion, so we need to look even deeper than getting money from taxes.
You know,
yeah.
Let me just jump in.
Nobody's calling in, I can't believe it. Are you all by the telephones?
Does anybody smoke pot in New York City? The point I wanted to just dwell on a little more than usual is to challenge what is the purpose of the marijuana laws, as far as what does it mean to say that we don't want people to smoke marijuana? What are we actually worried about? Are we worried that they're going to hurt themselves or that they're going to hurt others? And at this point, the argument had been that they're going to hurt themselves, actually. That was mostly the argument, rather than that.
Schedule 1.
And as far as they're hurting themselves, I think it is rather bizarre that being in prison hurts individuals more than anything.
Definitely. So what do you think out there? We're at 757-1483, 212-757-1483. We're live from 12:30 until 1, and we're wondering what you're thinking about this.
But at the rally, what we're going to try to get people to focus on is that the marijuana laws shouldn't be there, that they are a bad idea. They could be eliminated by an act of the legislature, but we're saying, yeah, but they could also be eliminated by an act of the court, realizing that the legislature's basis for the laws is only the ugliness of politics and not legitimate reasons that are required when individual constitutionally protected rights are at stake. And the rights that we're talking about are really the essence of freedom itself, freedom to think, freedom to be. And with marijuana, people feel more free to be themselves. They feel more free itself, freedom. Marijuana is really a drug of freedom. It frees you from bad habits, a lot of habits.
Like what bad habits?
Have habits of thinking, really, I think.
You mean where your thought was too restricted to see a solution? You expand it. I think then the challenge is acting on it. Because sometimes us non-pot smokers think that pot smokers are passive. What do you think out there? 757-1483.
I'm from Missouri originally, and I live in New York. Could you please say that website?
Well, freedomfirstparty.org is where we're trying to set up a stream, but I don't know if it's going to happen by tomorrow. There's also rabbitholecentral.tv. I'm trying to get a stream going, and the reason I want to get the stream going is that we can start to plug in with the different activist groups around the country and around the world, like in Canada, because they were also going into old tea houses in Cairo that have had this as part of their tradition for like hundreds, if not thousands of years. And that's just going a little too far. When you see one of the world's oldest medicinal plants being treated in this abusive way, it's really, as you said, it's about politics. And you were saying to give the burden of the proof on the state to come up with a compelling argument? Can you explain compelling?
Yeah, the way our laws are developed, the responsibility of the court as the third branch of the government is to make sure that the other two branches don't overreach their limited powers and invade the protected rights of the individual. So they're supposed to weigh the government, which they call the state versus the individual. And the way they do that is that ordinarily they do make the presumption that all legislation is constitutional. It's okay, but then it is subject to challenge by the individual.
In other words, the legislature could have made a mistake. They didn't, before they passed the law, they didn't really check it out that it was constitutional. And it slipped,
No, not
by.
that. No, well...
This is to protect it from slipping by, right? Because you wouldn't think you'd have an unconstitutional law. That's the point. People think if the legislator said it was okay, and in your Supreme Court case, the motion that you had before the Supreme Court, it seemed as though in California they were saying they were deferring to the intelligence of the legislature in California. That's how I read it.
You're correct, but that's a mistake. The court made a mistake, and the Supreme Court.
The legislature.
The court.
The court.
Shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said that.
No, the court's role is not to defer to the legislature. Ordinarily, it's okay to defer to the legislature until the individual says this is a special kind of law which infringes on constitutionally protected rights. So when I can show the court that there are indeed these precious constitutionally protected rights of the individual, then the state has to be judged, well, do you have an extra good reason to let you push down on the individual rights, or is it just, if it is merely politics, which would ordinarily suffice for legislation, if that's all you got going, then you lose state and the individual wins.
The compelling argument is not compelling.
The argument isn't compelling.
Right.
And another thing, the irony in my own case was that the stupidity of the language, that the court actually used language that the legislature had determined there's a compelling state interest. And as
Switch to Joe. Joe's talking. Okay. And please call in. Watch the telephones. I can't believe nobody's calling. Okay. Sorry.
So when the court, in their written opinion, said that the legislature had determined there's a compelling state interest, that is nonsensical language. That is shamefully ignorant language. That is no good. That what's supposed to be the deal is when the individual shows the compelling, when the individual shows that his precious rights are involved here, that his right to be free is prevented from happening if he can't have the marijuana. When that can be shown to the court, then the court then asks the government, can you now, we have a higher standard. We want you to show us what your reasons are so that we can evaluate them and see if they're great enough for us to decide we feel compelled to allow you to override constitutionally protected rights. Right. So the judgment of whether it's compelling is supposed to be the courts. And for the courts to say that the legislature has already determined we're compelled is foolishness. You understand?
I do.
Okay.
Why didn't you bring it up again? Why didn't you have a second pass at the Supreme Court?
Well, what it would take is
tell the story. This ought to get you.
You're on the air.
Oh, hello. Hello. You have to beef it up to the studio. Push up the dial that says caller, and then it should go.
I've done that.
Okay, and the caller. Hello, caller.
Yeah, is this?
Yes.
Hello, am I on the air?
Yes, you are.
You're on the air.
Oh, okay. First of all, Paula and Joe, one thing, I think I've seen Joe on the street sometimes, but I wanted to thank you both for your programs. I mean, Joe, your Truth for a Change has been something that I watch almost every day, and I think you do a real service with the programs that you put on. So I wanted to thank you very much for it. They're intelligent and thought-provoking, and...
What happened? We lost you. We lost it on thought-provoking.
They had a little feedback, but...
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
They said that they lost me.
Okay, keep going.
You're good.
Okay. Now, you know, the one thing that, you know, I don't know whether you've covered this or not, but one thing that is very disturbing to me, I'm in the, you know, music field, and I, you know, have a lot of people that I've worked with in rap music, and, you know, sometimes I'm in the Bronx and Staten Island and some other areas of New York, but this stop and frisk policy where they are, you know, literally just going up to people that are, you know, might be two people. I know one case where two people were just talking on the street, and one of them did have something on him. He just had, you know, a nickel bag. They ended up busting him and his friends, and then they called it a sale of a controlled substance to charge him with more charges. So first of all, it's an illegal search and seizure because the policeman had no right to stop them in the first place. So we're just talking on the street. Nothing was exchanged. But this is what goes on in some of the other boroughs, you know, unlike, maybe it happens in northern Manhattan, but, you know, these kind of things go on, and for the most part, most people don't know what it's like. I've had one of my groups, which is a multi-platinum group from one of the boroughs, and they were stopped one time on the street and literally had their pants and their underwear pulled down by the police right out on the street, searching for any kind of contraband. And, you know, have you ever covered this, Paula or Joe?
Has anybody stopped me on the street? No.
No, I haven't
That's
seen
horrifying.
anybody's pants pulled down on the street. That's crossing the line.
I'm telling you, this is, I mean, I know it's true because I've seen it. And it's not, you know, and sometimes you'll see videos that will just, you know, you'll see it.
Can you record it next time? Take a little camera. It's $300 for a video camera. Even those still cameras, they have a video feature. Learn how to use that video feature, even if we just get a few minutes, because I think it's really urgently important that people realize. I mean, it's a drag to be told that you're a slave, right? And in many ways, if you're living in a slavery situation, it seems as though you'll be a less successful slave. But now is the time to say this is unacceptable. We have a constitution, and if we have a constitution to protect against this, why don't we do it? Oh, can you turn down your television because there's a delay?
Oh, good.
Part of the rules of calling in is you've got to turn down your TV because we've got a delay, and it's very difficult.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good. Now you're just conversing.
You just tell me when I need to talk because I don't know what Paul's saying.
Oh, wow.
You can't hear me on the telephone?
I guess not.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm on the telephone, yeah.
Can you not hear me on the telephone?
I can hear your voice, but I can't hear Paula's.
I am Paula.
Oh, this is Paula? Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Paula.
Okay.
It must be all that meditation I've been doing. Anyway, now, the other thing is that, you know, when it comes to the...
But hang on, but before you go on, did you hear what I said about carrying a camera around and recording this? I guarantee you, any viewer that sends this kind of footage into me, take down the date and the time, I'm not into police harassment. I feel really sorry for police. I mean, I'm saying we have to get to the underlying underpinnings of what's causing the corruption in our society so that the policemen can be protected too. You see what I'm saying?
Well, Paula, look, I mean, you know, I respect your opinion, but I've got to tell you, you know, there is being in what is the true factual world of what, you know, you see with your own eyes, hear with your own ears. And, you know, when you have, you know, police that will pick up people like this, and then on top of that, what they do is that they will lie in order to bring up the charges to a better, you know, charge for them. So if they can make it a felony instead of a misdemeanor, then, you know, thank your little lucky stars. And, you know...
Okay, I got it. So now what you're saying is that they apparently have quotas.
Yes.
So again, the underlying problem here is that we have an economic paradigm where the growth industries are healthcare and prisons. So in other words, to keep the shareholders happy of whoever's invested in prisons, because I think we're the only country that's privatized this, which is a horrific idea too, that means that there's an actual plan to get more prisoners. So these guys are also victims to that. I'm trying to go into the deeper problems. Or what's your solution, sir? Do you have a solution?
Well, you know, it's one thing to call, you know, the police in some way a quote-unquote victim, but, you know, literally when, you know, you're out walking on the street. This has happened to me. I was walking in the Bronx one day, and all of a sudden people in plain clothes came up to me, threw me up against a fence, you know, went into my pants and underwear and said certain things about my, you know, things that they were looking at inside my pants, you know, saying, you know, certain things that they thought were funny about my genitals. And, you know, I didn't know whether I was getting rolled by, you know, people that were going to be robbing me at first or whether, you know.
Just had some random perverts.
I had no idea who they were. And it was only because I was, you know, I had been in a production session and I was walking back and, you know, they just came out of nowhere. And it was just because I was working on a certain street in a certain borough. And, you know, now I don't go to see any of, you know, the people that I used to produce in some of these areas of New York because, you know, I'm afraid I'm going to end up, you know, in the big house or, you know, with the way that they act. I mean, some of these people are real cowboys, and, you know...
So if I hear you right, what you're saying is even if you went there and you were, say, a smoker for religious reasons like Joe Barton is, and you don't like, unlike Alan Steinfeld who wants him to quit, you don't really want to quit, even if you went up there and you didn't have any of this on you, you're saying you would still have to go through these abusive searches?
Hilarious.
What's that? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, I think you dropped a call and picked up a call?
Yeah.
I was finishing up with that other fellow. Okay. Well, I guess we lost him. I just want to finish up on that thought. Joe, he's saying that he doesn't go to certain parts of New York because of this abusive behavior.
Well, I would get, it comes down to this.
Stand by, next caller, lady caller.
Is that when we live in fear, that is a degradation of our civilization.
I don't want to be on the air.
Oh, well, then don't be on the air. Cut off the person who doesn't want to be on the air. I wish I could get that guy back.
Marijuana is a tool for the state to make us live in fear. And the whole 9/11 terrorism thing is, again, a tool to make us live in fear. Both of them are steps away from the idea of the Founding Fathers and our government to be a land of freedom. Right. So fear is the opposite of freedom.
Right.
So indeed it's wrong, and marijuana has been a tool for the, whatever you want to call it, the people who have fascism in their heart, the people who don't really want that much freedom. They want the rule by the rich as opposed to rule by the people, which has been a thing throughout our American history. Right. But the marijuana laws are indeed give logic to this frisk. There is so much marijuana in people's pockets that although they won't find any terrorist weapons, it's, what do you call it, a consolation prize. They find a little marijuana.
But it sounded like what he was saying is that policemen are pressured to make busts.
Well, it's not only pressure.
They want to find.
They enjoy abusing people, which is sort of like exulting in their,
I'm gonna,
what do you call it, in their powers. It's like,
but then you're saying
they think it's funny. They make a joke out of it.
Maybe that's their way of kind of dealing with the bad situation.
Right. They find a little humor in the game because they can see that it is rather. In fact, in their hearts, I assume by now the cops realize that marijuana is not a big deal and it's not really worth criminalizing. I think there's plenty of cops who figure that one out by now.
Do you think there's cops that smoke?
Yeah.
I know there's judges and lawyers that do.
No, I did talk to a high-level person in the detective bureau who did concede that the whole prosecution or criminalization of marijuana is a bad idea. It's a waste of police time.
I think we're going to be drawing to a close in a few minutes, and I just wanted to say our number is 757-1483. Don't call if you don't want to be on. The whole idea of calling in is so that you can participate in a show. If you have any legitimate comments about my hairstyle not being good and things like that, you can give me those sort of comments by email, rabbitholecentral@earthlink.net. I am going down to see Carol of 3. I was late. Didn't get my makeup and stuff on. But, you know,
nice
preserve
dress,
our staff in there. Thank you. To help us pull this together. And on next Tuesday, which will be the 29th, I'm going to be coming live again, and we can give you a wrap-up of what's happened, because we also want to do something at Kingston on the 28th in front of the courthouse. And the Kingston was supposed to be the date that Joe Barton was supposed to go to trial, and we really, really were expecting the worst. And it seems as though he's gotten a sweetheart deal, according to Carl Pearson. However, he wants to take his plea back because he wants to stay in the game, figuring that there's a certain way you can operate in court when you're sur juris, when you're operating as a sovereign human being and not as some type of corporation where an attorney represents you. And I think we're going to be hearing more from Joe Friendly, because Joe has a legal education, but a long time ago he opted not to exercise this legal education. I think you might be coming into your own, Joe, in these times.
Thank you. My advice to Joe Barton was to offer the judge the opportunity to make a relatively elegant hearing on the issue of constitutionality of the marijuana laws, that there had been a misunderstanding behind his plea. He pleaded guilty because he was under the misunderstanding that the issue of constitutionality would be raised at trial. And in fact, it's normally raised before trial.
Right.
And it can be a quite simple hearing in which the judge says it is kind of obvious there are individual rights involved. So we don't even need a hearing on that. I will concede that. Let's just have the state throw at us an interest, and we'll see whether it's compelling. And I've read the book that Joe Barton gave me, Smoke and Mirrors, and it is pretty obvious politics has been behind the marijuana laws. But we have to be courteous to the state, give them one last chance before we throw down the marijuana laws.
So I think the caller that we had before talking about the abuse that he went through and traveling around, if more people call in with experiences like that, I think the more judges and attorneys who also want the law changed and to be constitutional. We want to be a land of the free. I think we can all work together and help each other. And I'm going to exert myself to get policemen on the show, because I think we will have among those ranks some colleagues and friends.
But also, I do want to encourage that if indeed anyone is busted, arrested for marijuana possession, that the time to raise the constitutionality is at arraignment. You can say, Your Honor, before I even have to plead, I want to challenge the law as unconstitutional, that it is a violation of my right of liberty, a violation of my right to think, a right to
freedom to think,
freedom to be myself. It helps me be more myself. And therefore, I want a hearing whether the state can show a compelling state interest. Sir, Your Honor.
Are you more yourself right now?
When I play lawyer?
No, right now. Do you feel yourself? You seem very... sometimes I feel when people smoke and I'm not, they're inaccessible to me. They seem in their own world. I feel very connected to you. Have you smoked or not?
I
know you like
toked around 11:45, so we are now about 2 hours away. The effect on me is to make my smile come easier and to feel more in a smiley mood. I wouldn't call it laughter. I would just say I see the happiness dimension to things.
Now, people who've taken the oil say that the THC gets lodged in the fat cells for delayed release.
So the more fat I got, the better.
No.
That's it. This is all.
As Josh Walensky said, there's real pot in that pot belly.
Oh, right.
No, but the idea is does it cultivate a smile all the time? Or is it something that you needed, otherwise you're cranky?
No, I would say this. I was a smiler most of my life, and as you grow, there is sort of like the cultural forces are pushing that down. Like, hey, quit smiling, you're making me mad. You know,
Yeah.
it's like.
Oh,
So
yeah.
marijuana allows that revival of it, is what it is.
To stay closer to your soul.
Yeah, and when you
And
say
not,
soul,
and
it's
not,
like
and
your
not
youth.
pressure from society.
It allows you to be more in touch with your youthful
Right.
self,
Right.
which is closer to where your soul is, I think,
Right.
and that's what we're talking about.
Right, kind of like me with my sister and a lot of friends. They don't like to get up early in the morning. So when I'm up early and I'm happy, they find it very annoying. And
Oh,
then
really?
that pinches me. So if I
Right.
could stay in touch with my happiness, then even if they're annoyed, you know, I guess that's the fine
Or
art
to
of
put
being
it even
yourself.
to put it a little more basic, our culture does not support and encourage yourself in its higher state. We just don't have a culture that does that.
Well, I'm thinking of individuals, like my sister or Alan or somebody saying, isn't she annoying? Or Molly calls me a morning Nazi. But that's where I feel...
Oh, you.
where I
Well, when
feel
they
the
do that, give me a
energies.
call. I'll give you a pat on the back on the telephone.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sure we're out by now. And,
No, we got a couple more. 2 more minutes.
But it says 1 o'clock.
It's wrong.
Oh, it's wrong? Oh, so we're still on.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought that was just bonus rap that was going to go up on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
See if you can do it. 757-1483. I'm not sure if my help in the control room has wandered away or not, but maybe we could get a
But I
last
think it
caller.
is-
I like that caller, though. Wasn't he
I
good?
think more and more people are realizing, especially, I mean, Obama did smoke, Clinton did smoke. And the main idea is that marijuana is so mild in its essence. And I guess the big kicker is Thomas Jefferson smoked it and loved it. George Washington smoked and loved it. James Madison.
The Constitution is written on hemp paper.
And that too.
Right, right. Oh, I liked Hemp for Victory. You put it up on your site.
Yeah.
That was good.
Somebody made the suggestion and we took it up on it.
Yeah.
In World War II, the U.S. government was encouraging people to grow hemp. They weren't talking about its medicinal properties or its freedom department. But right now, I was thinking if we had a banner for the State Department, it would be "We murder every day." I mean, we are a country on the wrong track. The Afghanistan war is totally a bad idea, and marijuana laws are a bad idea. There's a lot of correction that should be made. Right now, they're thinking about it over in Detroit.
Yeah, marijuana is just a beginning. As Joe Barton said,
Yeah.
you start with marijuana prisoners, and then you work your way up to all the nonviolent prisoners. Probably all of the drugs. I think all of the drugs should be.
So say
I don't
goodbye.
think there should be a schedule.
Now's the time to say goodbye. But
Goodbye.
I
Joe
would
says it's time to say goodbye.
Rabbit Hole Central.
Okay.
This has
So
been
Joe
Rabbit Hole
says we're
Central.
out. So that clock is very off. It
we
says
might have
3
another
minutes
10
after.
seconds.
10 seconds even?
Something like.
So then that clock's very off. Well, please bear with us. And on Monday, the 29th, we're going to be back with you live. We'll get this together more. And I really like the calls. I've treasured all of the calls. I'm sorry that that lady changed her mind that she didn't want to call. It's just I was finishing up with that other guy. I didn't mean to be
What
rude.
she said was, get that guy off the phone because he's talking about his genitals. It was the look on your face, not your haircut, honey.
It was the look on my face? No, tell me. Keep going. Let's keep recording this. What's that, Susie?
She was
That's
objecting.
what she called to say. Get him off the phone. And I thought she was going to talk, so I put her on the air. She said, no, I don't want to say it on the air. I just want to say that your haircut looks, she called back. She said, your haircut looks great.
Well,
And,
it's going to be better on Tuesday.
that she wasn't talking about your haircut. She was talking about the guy that he mentioned his genitals and stayed on it way too long. That's all.
Oh, but Susie, don't you think he was pretty polite about it?
Yeah, I do too. Because that's the real language.
Yeah,
Susie's
that's
good. Susie, you're good.
that's appropriate language for
Yeah.
complaining about the cops making jokes about your genitals. Yeah.
Right, right. And it seemed like he was an accomplished person that represented bands, and I don't think he was just saying, I'm lazy, I don't want to go up to your part of town. It seems
Now,
like...
would you like to make another recording with Susie?
You can, but I got to get down to
Oh,
fix my
I got to
hair.
get going too.
You do?
Well,
Susie, do you want to come on and say anything? Are you sure? You're a lady with a lot to say.
You can say that again.
Yeah.
Messed up everything, okay? I got the character generator on.
That's okay.
Next time, I'll wear the same thing tomorrow. Will you come tomorrow, Joe?
No, we're going to be on the
tomorrow
bus.
We're going to be on
But
the bus.
no, let's do a
How
half
about
hour. I'll do a
Tuesday?
half hour
Can we
with
go
you.
with you? Me and my friend from out of town?
Here, come on.
Yeah, you can do that.
Here, Susie,
Go
sit
buy a
down.
ticket.
No, don't let me do it. I
sit
don't want
down.
to. I forgot my DVD today.
No, it's okay. We're rolling.
It's okay.
No, we're rolling. Just try.
I'll just say hi to him for 2 seconds.
Just say hi for
Okay.
2 seconds.
Hey, is
Put
that
on
CG?
camera 3.
But I got to turn the CG
Yes.
off. I got it in the middle of the screen.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh my
No,
God.
no, no,
I tried
I'll
to
do
put
it.
Rabbit Hole Central.
I'll do it.
And the night I could have done it.
Here, put it on camera 3. And let Joe go. Oh, Joe's looking good. Catch you later.
Come on. Okay. I want to. Well,
Here she comes.
you know, I have a friend from New Mexico, and he was too afraid to come here today. I should have told him there's going to be a hippie, and they're going to be talking about pot, and now we have an 80-year-old in the control room. Don't be afraid. I made a mistake. I mentioned, the CG's on. I mentioned, you know, the cameras, and you can play guitar on the cameras, and I can upload it to your YouTube account. But I should have just got him down here, and then at the last minute said, hey, why don't you get on? I forget, you can't talk to people who aren't used to being on the camera and expect them to go along with the program without freaking the heck out. He thinks he's going to be performing.
So,
Come a little closer, honey.
where were you moved to?
Let me give you a massage. So where is this event tomorrow?
In Albany, in front of the Capitol.
Now that's a long ride. How?
And they have a bargain rate. Instead of the usual $30 each way, it's only $10 each way.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Now what time is the bus leaving?
10 minutes before 8 o'clock in the morning.
Where? What street corner?
On 8th Avenue and 40th Street.
8th Avenue and 40th Street. Well, I better be careful what I wear because I don't want to get arrested like that guy. On 8th Avenue and 40th Street? I don't want to be walking the streets,
I gotta
honey.
check out what you got in your panties there, girl.
Okay, so,
Wait, Joe, why do we get a $10 rate instead of 30?
No, it's advertised online.
What do you have to do to prove it? It means
You have to buy your ticket online, I believe, and it's
you have to buy it online.
and the name of the bus company that GoTo is dealing with is called AA. So.
oh, you're scaring me. This is more complicated. Are we off now?
No, we're not. Are my keys around?
Anyways,
Keep going, sorry.
now this is getting more complicated. I just want to show up tomorrow with my $10 if I make it. Now I got to go to a website I won't be able to remember when I get home. Don't make me choke you. I'll take you out. This monkey gets upset.
No, you can just.
It's a lot for a monkey to do.
Do you do stuff online? You have a credit card?
Yeah. Okay. So
you just-
now we all
You
need.
just go. What I Googled was bus, Albany, New York. Mm-hmm. And
But I want to be on the same bus with you and Paula Gloria.
All right. So then, when you do that, the first 3 things that come up are all go-to bus. So skip the first one, just hit the second one, and there you'll be in the go-to bus, and then you choose.
We'll do it here before I
Okay.
leave. Okay. So, anyways, now this is an all-day thing, huh?
They do say on the thing noon till 9.
Oh, so we get home at 9?
No, 9 o'clock is when people are finally. Oh, I can't talk anymore. Let's just play some music.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to bring my clapper so I don't have to clap with my hands. I can.
There you go.
And make a lot of noise. I got it at one of those seminars. Paula, are you leaving? I'm leaving too. Paula's running out the back door, and leaving. So come here, Paula. Say goodbye. Paula's got me in front of the camera, and then I see her with her purse sneaking. Get a 2-shot. Get a 2-shot.
Camera 3.
2-shot. Shantae.
Camera 3.
I want a 2-shot.
Get me the long
Get
shot.
all of us.
All of us.
That should be camera 3. Camera
That's
3. Camera 3.
Anyways, we're done here. But Paula was sneaking out the back door. There it is. She got her little
I'm
purse.
getting my hair fixed.
Let
so
me
it'll
go,
look
Paula.
nicer, 'cause
Let me
don't
go.
like
I got a lot to
give it
do.
credit
I
if
got to
it's
get a
not
pen
looking
out and listen to Joe and try to talk to my friend.
Okay, cut the tape.
Okay, thank you so much. Do you like the suit? I still got the tags on it. Maybe I should take it back. I wanted to watch.
No, the suit's really nice, Susie. It looks nice
It
on
was only
top.
$80.
Where are
$79.
Then when we went back to court, when we went back, I was foggy as I could be from lack of sleep. So
Yeah.
now,
Just a second. So Christian, what he's describing now is what happened when you saw fruit of a poison tree. That was the last thing that was done before he went into court the second day.
okay. Then when we went into court, we noticed that the whole court was acting weird. I mean, the cops were acting weird, and like even when we showed up, it was crazy. When we walked in, the cop that waves the wand around you to make sure you don't have any metal or anything, right? He waved the wand around us, and then me and all our witnesses, we went and we got in the elevator. By the time we took the elevator up to the first floor, the same cop that had waved the wand around us came up and ran into the judge's chambers. So he took the stairs up and he beat us up faster than we got up in the elevator. And I thought that was a bit weird. I thought to myself, what the hell is going on, right? Then when we went out, we were sitting ready to maybe go into the courtroom. The prosecutor came out and he said, did anybody offer you a deal? And I said, no. Yeah, I said, yeah, they had offered us a deal of 5 years probation. And he said, well, I'm prepared to make that deal again, rather than see you go to court, see you go to jail. And we said, no, we've turned it down. And then we found out that it was going to be a while for the judge to be there, so we told all the witnesses and everything, let's go outside and we'll talk. So we went back down in the elevator, we went outside. While we were outside talking, the prosecutor comes down. Now, I've never seen a prosecutor come outside a courthouse to offer a defendant another deal, right? He comes outside the court and he said, I talked to him acting like he liked us and he was trying to do us a favor. And meantime, we were pretty stressed, and so he comes out and he says, I talked to my boss and I can get you a better deal. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to back this up. I'm leaving it out. When we were still upstairs, he called. He said, let's have a thing in his office. We went in with the lawyer that was. He's not my attorney, but he's what they call a standby attorney. He observes everything. He wasn't allowed to advise me or do anything, but what he was there for was to observe everything that I was saying, to learn what my trial, just in case the judge said, you can't defend yourself anymore, he's got to take it. So he was observing everything so that he could pick up if I was thrown off.
Yeah, because remember, Christian, at this point, Joe was saying that he and his son didn't know how to enter the photographs as evidence as opposed to exhibits. So he said, and his friend lawyer was saying it was like watching a baby choke or something and not being able to do anything. That was prior to Posar pointing out that he should have had his counsel in the pit with him. But that's another situation.
Okay. That's a turning point where you needed, the way things were going, that was the point where you think that the attorney needed to step in because you didn't know the legal means of presenting
he couldn't
evidence?
just step in. The only way he could step in is if the judge took me off the case. If the judge said you can't defend yourself, I'm going to turn it over to him. Which is what that was the point where I would have said no. I only speak for myself as a sovereign human being, and I don't want any lawyers talking for me. That's when I thought that they were going to put me in jail, like for contempt.
I understand now. That makes sense.
Okay. Now, when we go in the back room with them, he said that was when he asked us if we would take the 5 years probation, and we said no. But back in that back room, I pointed out a lot of stuff to him. I pointed out that they didn't know who their anonymous informant was, and I told them, you guys don't know who the anonymous informant is, but we do, and all my witnesses do. They all know who she was, and I told them who she was. I gave them her name, and I said, and besides that, shortly after this, after she had ratted us out, she wound up in the mental hospital. So if she was in the mental hospital, it's obvious that she was not
reliable. Reliable.
Reliable, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
That she was not reliable. And that her testimony, even if she was there to court, because in court they said they didn't know who she was and they couldn't produce her, right? When it was their turn to put on the case. So, and then I told them, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you the full truth. Yes, I had the marijuana. Yes, I was growing it. And yes, I made the hash oil. And your cops were on my property without a warrant, and it was the fruit of a poison tree. And I can't remember. I'm still a little foggy. Anyway, then we went downstairs.
Does Jay remember it?
Not better than me.
Okay. Okay, so
you were outside and the prosecutor comes running out.
Right, and he says, I got another deal for you. If we both plead guilty. Oh, that's what I was going at when we were in the room. I was saying, look, he said, what kind of deal will you take? And at first I said, you just dismiss everything, throw it all out. He said, oh, we can't do that, we can't do that. And then I said, well, then since I'm the one you want, let my son off. And they said, well, we can't do that. So then when we went downstairs, now he comes down and he says, I talked to my bosses, and this was minutes after we had left his office, right? He says, I talked to my bosses, and they're willing to give you a better deal. They're willing to say, drop the felonies on my son, and he would do 1 year. No, he would not do 1 year. If he pled guilty and didn't get arrested or in any trouble for a year, all his charges would go away. And since I had felonies, I would have to plead guilty to 3 felonies, and after 3 years, if I didn't get arrested again, they would go away. No probation, no having to pee in a bottle, right? Which, under the laws that we have here, the sentence that they were offering wasn't applicable. They were offering us something that is less than what the law books say they can offer.
Right.
Right? And had I been thinking clearly, I would have said, wait a minute.
That's suspicious.
If they're willing to go that far, there's got to be a good reason. And the reason was that they knew that they didn't have a case. And not only did they not have a case, they had committed illegal, by the cops being there illegally, we could charge them. And the fact that the prosecution had taken 18 months dragging us to court, and they knew that they didn't have a case, it should have been thrown out. I didn't know that at the time. At the time, I was thinking, I can get at least my son. If my son wasn't in this, I would have never took any kind of deal. I would have fought it all the way through. But my son's a very gentle.
Hello?
Hold on a minute. I'm back.
Okay.
Then they, I lost what I was saying now.
That you never would have taken the deal, but you didn't want your son.
Had he not been there, I never would have taken the deal. So when they said that, I thought, okay, here's a chance to save my son. So we said, okay, we'll take the deal. Then we went into court and we took the deal. And we said, the judge said, okay, you accept the deal. You got to come back for sentencing on August 4th, right? So then we came home and we got a night's sleep. And when I woke up the next morning, I said, all of a sudden, all these things came together for me. And I said, I remember how weird they were acting. I never seen them act like that. The cops were nervous. The prosecutors were nervous. They were chasing around behind us, kissing our ass. A deal for us. So now I say, well, why were they doing this? And then I remembered I had put in paperwork to them on jurisdiction, on them having the right to jurisdiction or jurisdiction over us, right? And when I put in all that paperwork on jurisdiction, the prosecutor sent me back a thing refusing to answer the jurisdiction. And then I sent him back a paper saying, you can't refuse jurisdiction. According to the laws, once jurisdiction is challenged, first of all, one law says once jurisdiction is challenged, the plaintiff, the side that's complaining, must answer it, must prove that they have jurisdiction. And the second point of jurisdiction that I was arguing is, what the hell is it?
Do you want me to call Rick? I see he's online.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Let me...
We have to hold while you do this?
It'll be fast.
Okay, not a problem.
Sounds like they tried to...
Yeah, they didn't have a case. They actually in charge of them. They should have thrown it out, but they were afraid that because we had a case against them, the only way that they could stop that was getting us to plead guilty.
Right. So has your guilty plea been retracted as of yet?
No, but I went back. Oh, yes, I went back the very next morning and told the judge, I want to take back the guilty plea. And he kind of hemmed and hawed a bit. You got to put in the paperwork, and I have a choice whether I want to accept this or not.
Hey, Rick, it's Paula and Christian and Joe Barton.
Yes?
Do you want to be in on this? He's explaining something very interesting.
What's to explain? The charges, he's made a deal with them, hasn't he?
No, he's going back on it. You want to quickly recap, Joe, for Rick?
Okay, Rick. Let me put you up to speed here. When we made the deal, I had been up for 36 hours with no sleep, right? And they bamboozled me. They played head game with me, and they made us think that my son Jay would go to jail for 5.5 years if both of us didn't take the deal. So we said okay. But then the next morning when I woke up after having slept, I realized we were winning the case. The cops we put 4 cops on the stand. All 4 of them said they didn't have a warrant when they came on our property, right? So we ran back to court and told them that we want to take back the deal. Now the judge didn't want to let us take back the deal. He said, I have the discretion of accepting it or not. Put in paperwork. But then when I came home and I started going over the paperwork that I had served the prosecutor, which just before this case started, I served them a whole stack of paper on jurisdiction. And one is that I was saying that the prosecutor didn't have jurisdiction to try us, to even take us to court, right? And another law that the Supreme Court says is jurisdiction can be challenged at any time during the trial, before the trial, during the trial, or even after the verdict. Even after we would be found guilty, you can challenge and say, wait a minute, they didn't have jurisdiction.
So Joe, in your paperwork that you're answering, you're citing these precedents that jurisdiction can be challenged even after a verdict?
Yes, yeah. No,
okay.
not just the paperwork I'm putting in. I already gave them that paperwork, and they refused to answer it. The prosecutor, when I gave them all this stuff earlier, before they even had the hearing, they knew that they didn't have jurisdiction. They knew that I had beat them, that I had won. But they didn't want to concede, so they played this game with us, like, well, we're taking it to trial and we're going to have the hearing. They should not have even had the hearing, right? So at the hearing, all 4 police officers, and it was even crazy, the judge kept telling the prosecutor, well, it's your fault. When he applied for this hearing, you could have said you didn't want it, but you didn't. And since you didn't, he gets this hearing. And when they put the 4 police officers on, all 4 police officers said they had trespassed on our property without a warrant 2 times in order to get a warrant.
This is pretty good.
Right?
This is good enough.
Which is, do you know the term a fruit of a poison tree? You know what that is, Rick?
Well, yeah, I've heard of it before, Joe, but what's going to happen now, if you go back on what you've done, they're just going to be that much worse to deal with. I can guarantee you that.
No, they're not. Rick, I mean, they're going to win this.
Joe, I mean, you have to deal with the system the way I did to realize how badly corrupted it is. And believe me, brother, it's even worse than what you think. And I think Christian can verify what I'm saying.
That's good. Fine.
Well, I know if you'd have saw how nervous the police were and the prosecutors, and they were chasing us around. They offered us one deal, we turned it down. Then when we went outside, never in all my time, I've been to court many, many times, not just with me, but with a lot of my friends over the years. I never saw a prosecutor come out of a courthouse chasing to find somebody to offer them a better deal than the deal that they had just turned down. He came out and he offered a deal. The deal that they offered us, they couldn't even make. According to the law, you can't give that light a sentence to a felony. They agreed to drop my son's felonies down to misdemeanors and let him go 1 year. As long as he doesn't get arrested during that year, it would all go away. Meaning he didn't have probation or any supervision, and he didn't have to pee in a bottle. Same thing. And then they offered me that same deal only, not 1 year, but if I don't get rearrested in 3 years, it goes away. Now,
I'm not getting any feedback.
The statutes on felonies,
from you guys.
They're not allowed to do that. So they were so paranoid. They just wanted us to plead. They knew that not only could we win, but we had proof that the fact that 4 police officers all said they trespassed on our property without a warrant, and there were no trespassing signs all over. I asked the police,
now I'm on the
did you see these signs? Did you see I had pictures of all the signs. Did you see this sign? Did you see this sign? Did you see this sign? And they're all saying, no, never saw those signs. No, never saw those signs. And they even implied that maybe those signs were put up after the arrest, right? That was the day before we pled. Now, when we went home, when I was waking up in the morning, at 9 o'clock in the morning, the prosecutor had gone to our old address and saw the landlord there, right? and asked the landlord, were these trespassing signs there? And the landlord said, those trespassing signs have been there for 30 years. So now the prosecutor even knew that the police had lied and that they had no authority to be there. But instead of coming back and saying, oh, we should throw out the case because we don't have a case, they tried to intimidate us. They tried to scare us, saying, well, both of you are going to do 5.5 years, and you got this super deal. We're being so nice to you. Now, had I had sleep, I would have pinned all that. I would have said, look at these fucking guys, the way they're acting, and now they're willing to be nice to me, and they're trying to be my friends and give me this deal that they never gave anybody else. And even when we went before the judge said, in all his years as a prosecutor, and in all his time on the bench, he had never, in all that time, given such a light sentence for an offense like this. But he was willing to do it, which meant that even the judge was willing to violate the law to give us a lesser sentence. The law says you can't do what they were going to do.
So Joe
what you have to understand with these people is not a matter of what's right and wrong or justice. They do whatever they please. Now, I mean, I was offered an absolute discharge back before, like when I got all the affidavits in for the charter challenge. Well, by that time, they knew I had a case and they knew it was real. So they figured the best thing to do was to offer me this discharge. You know, as long as I was willing to plead guilty to their charge, or to one charge, they would guarantee me the absolute discharge, just as if nothing had ever happened. But you see, I wouldn't go along with them. I wouldn't play their game. Because, I mean, that's what you're doing. The minute you go along with them, you're playing their game.
Okay, but then we came back. After that had gone, we went home, went to sleep. After I woke up and had my head straight, we went back the very next day and told the judge we want to withdraw our plea. He told us we had to put in the paperwork. Then when I came home and started looking doing the research for the paperwork that I was going to do, I reread the paperwork that the prosecutor had refused to answer on jurisdiction. Now, on jurisdiction, it says, at any point in a trial, before the trial, during the trial, and even after a guilty verdict, you can challenge jurisdiction. And once jurisdiction is challenged, it must be proven. That's what the law says, right? And
excuse me, Joe, it must be proven that they have jurisdiction?
Right.
Okay, and
the onus is on them.
Okay, so now the onus that's on them for jurisdiction is one strike against them. What about the fact that the prosecutor talked to your old landlord and then had exculpatory evidence in your favor? Is that separate but also a concern?
Well, what makes them not have jurisdiction is, do you know the term under color of law? If the police
do we have a new soundboard
just because they have a badge. Hello?
Yeah.
God, I'm so happy.
Just because they have a badge doesn't mean that what they're doing they have the authority to do. That means they're operating under color of law. Like if a cop comes up to you and he says, I'm a cop and I got a badge, empty your pockets. He doesn't have the authority to tell you to empty your pockets. But a lot of people, because he has a badge, believe that he has that authority. So they empty their pockets. Right?
Right. That's more authority than they actually have.
Now we're going live.
Right. They're overstepping the authority. They're not they're not within legal standing. When they came on our property without warrants twice
and
trespassed,
and let's take
whatever evidence they...
Great. Okay, this is Paula Gloria. We're going to switch over to... Yeah, great. That's the wide shot. So the idea here is that we want you to start calling in about this very important and very provocative topic. I set the camera for Shanti. You're a little bit shorter than I am. And what my hope is, go to the wide shot again, to camera 2. What I'm hoping is that we're going to have people not only calling in, But I want, oh, thanks, Molly. Molly's adjusting camera 3 again. Yeah, keep it here on the wide shot. My hope is that you're not only going to be calling in, I want you to come down to the studio and start to discuss this, because what you're seeing is there's starting to be a breakthrough in the court system. And I think that this battle is going to be taking place in the courts. And if we go back to our Constitution and we really understand what is sovereignty, does it mean to say we the people, what does jurisdiction mean? All of these things will start to help people do the right thing. And my feeling is that people always want to do the right thing. It's just that we get sort of immersed and caught and hung up. Basically, we get out of connection with our soul. If we can start pulling in that real spiritual energy, and that's what Tantra really is about. It's about manifesting spiritual energy. When I came back from India and I got involved in the 9/11 truth, and it seems so strange, people are going, Paula, how come you had a holistic dentistry show and then you went and you got involved with 9/11 truth and politics? But if you think about it, the natural evolution of real spiritual practice has to be concerned with the other. It has to be concerned with society. So politics is really the study of power. So why should we think that spirituality is something impotent? Why should we even be thinking that our Constitution is impotent? Because so many clauses in the Constitution are not being upheld in the court systems. If you're talking to lawyers that have had a lot of experience and they're seeing the works of society that the Constitution was aware of, in other words, the works of society when people are just acting in a limited way, in a way where they're grasping and they're concerned, they're holding on to their jobs, they're holding on to what seems to be more real, that sort of winds down. And even when you're focusing on the practical things become more and more difficult. And that's why our whole society now is in a crisis, because our two growth industries are healthcare and prisons. So that means if we want a robust economy, unless we widen out our notion of what economics is, we're raising people to be sick or to be criminals. And so that's why we're wanting to do the call-ins. We want to hear from you. I was so pleased the other day that I detected by the accent that one of my callers was Hispanic. And you'll see, insofar as marijuana is concerned, the busts that are going on in the Hispanic community are just way out of proportion in the Black and Hispanic community. And Joe Barton and his son were saying that they want to win this case not only to free the marijuana prisoners and other prisoners of nonviolent crimes. It's not just about them, it's about all of them. And when they would sit there and listen as they were waiting for their case to come up, they said there would be incident after incident where the judge would say things like, you know, the defendant, and this is another way that they work in court, which is not to be calling oneself a defendant, but rather a sovereign human being. And sovereign human beings, we the people, have entrusted the government with chores, obligations. In other words, they work for us. And yet now we're a people that are cowering and are fearful. So when these other defendants were up for sentencing, they'd done a plea bargain, and the plea bargain, they were expecting to get 5 years, and the judge just gives them, no, they were expecting to get 3 years. Hi, is that a caller? Hello?
We were just testing the line.
Okay. So the defendant was expecting to get 3 years, and the judge was saying he's going to give him 5 years in jail. And he goes, yeah, but the prosecutor said I was taking this plea, it was going to be 3 years. And the judge says, you made that deal with the prosecutor. You didn't make it with me. Is that a caller, Molly? Hello? Hello?
I don't know.
Hello? I think you should hang that one up. Keep trying. We're still learning the lines here. Cut the call, bring that down, or hang up. If you go to the bottom of the numbers of the buttons, yeah, that's hang up. It's a little hard to figure out. So I'm hoping that people are really stimulated by this. And I'm hoping this is about much more than marijuana.
Hang up and then dial.
Hang that up. I don't think that's a person either.
We're still working on a caller.
Why are you coming out?
What?
Why are you coming out here?
because I'm trying to call from another extension.
Oh, either they call or not. Just join me.
See,
Shanti, are you okay there in the
no,
control room?
I just want to explain to the masses.
I'm okay.
That
There's 10,000 things happening.
no, I know, but I'm trying to test it from another line.
Don't test it. Either they call or they don't.
All right. Well, we
Yeah.
just want to make sure that if they do call, that they actually get through.
Well, there's only a number, a button you push or not. There's nothing else we can do besides that. Keep calling. We
Keep
really,
trying.
really want to hear from you. But go back and help Shanti.
All right,
She's
I gotta
freaking
get
out by herself there. If we get everything under control in the control room, then Molly's going to come out and join us. And what I wanted to talk about was a book talking about Middle Temple.
Okay, we got a call, Paula.
Okay, great. Caller? Hello? Raise it to the studio.
Hi, I just watched the tail end of. Hello, I just watched the tail end of the show.
You watched what? Yes?
And
oh, turn down your television, sir.
Sorry.
Sir, turn down your television. You have to turn off the television, turn down the volume, because there's a delay.
Okay, is that better?
And then only talk to me on the phone. Okay? Hello?
Is that better?
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to know more about this court case of Joe Barton. And have you heard about K2 and Diablo and these artificial marijuana that's on the market? And I heard that they're still legal, but there's legislation in New York State that's trying to ban them and make them illegal.
You're going to have to go a little more slowly with this because we're still getting the sound thing out. This was about marijuana, but you're talking about something that's not marijuana. I'm interested in that because the most important part of the Joe Barton case is not about... Okay, sir, you did not turn down your television because I'm hearing the feedback. You must turn down your television. Can you do that right now? Run across the room, turn down the volume. It's worth it. Okay? I hope he didn't hang up. Did I offend him? It's just that there's a delay.
He didn't hang up. He didn't hang up.
Okay.
He just dropped the phone.
Oh, he dropped the phone. Okay, good. When you call in, ladies and gentlemen, you must turn down your television set because there's a delay. And you're going to listen to me on the phone, you'll be confused because you're going to say something. And then when you listen to the television for me to answer, I'm not going to answer for a while because there's a delay. And then it makes for very uncomfortable communication. Kind of like why people smoking marijuana used to drive me crazy, because I always found that when I'd say something, because I'm kind of clippy and fast, they would have a lot of space to take it in, and then I would get the response back. So I'm facing my own karma on this. Are you with me again, caller? He was asking about something other than marijuana. I'm interested in that because the wider implications of the Joe Barton case with his son, Jay Depperman, is about constitutionality, and it's about due process. And it's about whether we, the people, are sovereign citizens and whether the government is working for our interests to be a lively, robust nation of free people. Free people that's free in our bodies and free in our thinking. And it shouldn't be that, you know, Joe Friendly is always pushing for marijuana because it helps him think better, so he can think in a more free way. Okay, that was a promising little click noise. Did we lose the caller? I think I offended him by telling him to turn down the television set. Keep calling in and we'll keep trying to work it out in the control room.
We lost him, Paula.
Okay, just stay there by the telephone if somebody else calls in so we can push it down and everybody's relaxed. It's a little stressful. It's a stressful topic. When we were up in Albany, not very many people showed up, but somebody who works inside the legislature came out and he looked up at all the buildings and he said, fortunately, because we had a PA system, so what we were saying and talking, and including me, Molly, I read a verse out of the Rig Veda, one of the hymns to the plants, showing how in other cultures there's great reverence. Okay, hit drop because now we're getting a dial tone. Yeah, it's okay, so we're trying. So the person came out of the legislature and he said, these people are all cowardly to come down here. And so that's what a lot of the senators are saying. You want me to vote for this, But I need to see that there is political support for it, that there's a momentum, that the people are behind this. But then the people are afraid to come out because they think that they're going to be arrested and that we're living in a police state and so on. Meanwhile, you've got policemen who are perfectly decent people. They're just needing a job. So it's very important that we work together in such a way that we can encourage each other to be courageous and to come forward. That's really what the name of the game is about. And as far as spiritual practice is concerned, spiritual practice is whatever practice you do to connect you with your soul, which takes you to a power that's far greater than relative power. And relative power would be, how am I looking to my, partner and to my family and to my society? If you're always trying to weigh that, you're going to find that your real psychic power and energy is going to be restricted. And that's why Jane Goldberg, and why I'm interested in psychoanalysis, said that the purpose of psychoanalysis is to be able to think any thought and to have any feeling. And then afterwards you can decide on which thoughts and which feelings you want to act on. But when people, like if you tell a little child, oh, you shouldn't say you hate your brother. Well, if hatred is an actual feeling that the child is feeling, and you're saying he's bad for feeling that, he's going to turn that hatred in on himself, and his thinking is going to be restricted, and his actions will be restricted. Now, oftentimes I think people can turn to drugs because maybe there's something uncomfortable or what they feel is evil or bad or wrong inside them, and they'll take the substances to mask over those feelings. It's better to be familiar with those feelings, have those feelings, feel those feelings, even talk about those feelings. That's the purpose of a psychoanalytic session, is just to be able to pretty much do what I'm doing here right now, which is just talk and talk and talk. And when you verbalize that, you can be easier about what you've verbalized. If you're in a group, if it's group therapy, you can see how those thoughts are hitting someone else. You can deal with the reaction. You can start to learn contact functioning, which is why I'm so eager to hear from you and what you're thinking about this really provocative information that I had at the beginning of this show, which was Christian Lorette, who you can see is more mild-mannered. He's now an accounting student, and he's the one that was the producer that was tracking the work of Rick Simpson, who was the man who was so straight, never smoked a joint in his life, but for various reasons with his own medical problems stumbled on the cancer cure and then gave it away. He cured thousands of people. And Christian Lorette created a documentary. He tracked it, he watched it, and then they put it up on the internet, and then once it was out on the internet, millions of people have seen it, but most importantly, thousands of people have actually followed the instructions. They've scored a pound. Here in New York City, it's difficult to do, it's expensive, but if you're living in a farm where there's not helicopters, hovering around you, you can get your pound, you get a solvent, you put the solvent into the pot, and you smash it all up. You get the fiber out, then you take the solvent, you can put it in a rice cooker and boil it away. There's different techniques to do it. I'm starting to ask people who are working with it which are producing the medicine that's the strong medicine that will get rid of cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, weight normalization, glowing skin, skin cancers falling off, all of these different things. So it's exciting that many people are now using it. Now, I'm hearing that Congress has passed something saying that in an emergency, I guess if terrorists are attacking, I would hate to think that anything that's anti-pharmaceutical will be considered a terrorist, but if it's challenging big money, you can be sure that big money and monopoly is going to protect it. If we can work with Marshall Rosenberg's principles of nonviolent communication, my hope is to be able to connect with the monopolists to say it's going to be a more successful lifetime if you include all of the people. So let the cancer cure go out. Stop making money from prisons and stop making money from having people be sick. And then you'll see that you're going to have a healthier society. And if you've got a healthier society and you're the rich guy at the top of that heap, it's going to be a more rewarding experience than if you're at the top of a heap of everybody in prison and in the cancer wards. That's just not the most fulfilling experience possible. At least I'm not thinking it is. And I'm really wondering what you're thinking. People aren't calling, huh? Or we're losing the calls? Here, Molly is going to give us a report from the control room.
Missing a huge opportunity here at Rabbit Hole Central, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to set up the camera so that I can actually have a two-shot where I don't look like I'm sort of leaning out of the shot.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Talk
about your tooth, whatever.
My tooth?
No, I'm kidding.
I used to have a show called The Whole Tooth, Molly is reminding me. And in my enthusiasm to have people understand holistic dentistry, I would chart my progress. And I've also had a show with a dentist recently. Are you doing this on me or you? I thought you're setting up for you.
Don't look behind the man behind the curtain.
Okay, I'm not supposed to look at the man behind the curtain. I can't begin to tell you out there in TV land how much I'm wondering what you're thinking about what I'm putting out there. Joe Barton is a really rough and tough guy. He managed to sway courts when he was only 23 years old. He really believed in what he was doing. His wife was nursing their baby. They had 5 children. And he had 2 juries on his side. They really believed that these substances, which are considered evil and bad, were substances that were going to be liberating the thinking.
We have a caller.
Oh, great. Yay. Caller. I can't hear the caller if we have a caller.
Hello?
Yes. Yes?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you, Paula Gloria?
Good.
Sir,
just a second.
Keep up the good work.
I appreciate you saying thank you. I appreciate you saying pick up the good work, but I can hear the television in the background, and the rule is you've got to turn down your TV as soon as we pick up with you. You understand? We're going to have
Okay, is that better?
Yes, great. Oh, wonderful.
Better?
Yes. So what about this work meets your needs? I want to know how it's affecting you. Sir? Hello? Hello? How come when I tell people to turn down their TV set, they stop talking to me? Is it because they're listening to me on the television? Okay, you have to drop the call.
They're listening to me on the television.
Hello?
Hello?
Drop the call. They're listening to me on the television. Hello? Hello?
Is someone there?
Yes, I'm here, but your television's on. You've got to turn down your TV.
I turned it down. I think we're having a bad connection.
No, we are having a bad connection, but if you turn down the television, we have a 50% chance of having a better connection.
What exactly are you putting out there?
Did you watch the beginning of the show?
Did you watch the beginning of the show?
No, I just came into it right now.
Oh, well, then you're not going to understand. Okay, you better.
I will understand. I just want to know what exactly.
If you can't cut the call. We've got to be strict about this. I hate to be the school marm, but if you're not going to cut down the delay, it's just too hard to have an important conversation back and forth. Now, I realize that the delay is set up for abusive calls because we're coming on daytime television and we can't have all those nasty comments. I would like to be able to deal with the nasty comments, but right now what I'm feeling is closer to people's hearts, especially the hearts that I'm especially concerned with are those people who are going through court cases, are those people who are faced with many years in prison. It's an industry. Hello? Caller? You're on. You're on, caller.
I don't know what happened to him.
Okay. I guess we're having problems with the delay, but like I'm saying is my concern are the people that are facing many years in prison. We have a robust economic industry. Somebody's got their television on. That isn't our television in the control room, is it? Is it the monitor TV? If it's our monitor TV, we've got to turn that down because I have.
It's
It's not. Okay.
Hang on, let's talk about cranky callers.
Okay, we're going to talk about cranky callers. Just cut the calls. Okay.
I don't know. We're getting feedback.
Okay, perfect. Good shot. So what's going on?
Well, I don't know if it's Howard Stern's people or what, but I kind of feel like it's the unmet needs department all over again. And
right, it's kind of hard to make fun about people going to prison, though, isn't it?
Well, people just have an opportunity to be live, and they don't even listen to the rest of your show. They just tune in at the last minute.
Right.
They don't know about anyone going to prison, and it's
or having cancer and chemotherapy.
Or having cancer, and and so it's
right.
You're putting yourself out there in heavy traffic in New York, and so it's not like a normal situation. We're in a controlled environment.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, this is how many days? This is the first day you went?
This is third day I've gone live. I'm going to go live tomorrow. You want to weather it? No, you want to go back home.
Well, we'll see how it goes tonight.
Okay.
Paula's apartment is very hot, and she won't let me have air conditioning or even a fan. I mean, I had a fan last night under duress.
Caller coming in.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay,
Caller, you're on.
Give him a shot.
Hello.
Hello.
Turn down your TV.
They don't turn down the TV. I don't want to deal with people.
This is just Harold.
Harold.
Harold, turn your TV.
And I'm turning my television. The dogs are barking. That's the thing.
Okay.
It's okay.
The dogs
Hello,
we don't
mind. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
We love the dogs.
We can hear you now.
We love the dogs.
So it's a little tricky. You better get that calling thing working somehow. I don't know.
There's a delay. There's a delay, and people are relying on the television to find out what we're saying.
So I can't hear you. We're going to get that calling system worked out.
Why can't you hear me?
Television and I can't hear you.
Tyrone, why can't they hear me? Why can't they hear me?
So that'll get ironed out.
Well, no wonder we're having.
That'll get ironed out. It was great to see Reed Stowe last night. It was good to see you guys.
They can't hear me.
And your program is
Fortunately,
really
it's
good.
Harold. He doesn't need anybody to hear him.
You get that telephone thing worked out really well. Nat knows how to make it work really well. But here I am watching you gesticulate like a silent movie here without any sound because I can't hear you on the telephone.
You can't hear me on the telephone.
And I got my television off, and you guys look great, and it's all good.
He's very push-play. That's why they couldn't hear me on the telephone.
Okay, so I'm just rambling on. I hear myself on the television, but I can't hear you.
He's the perfect call-in guest to iron out these bugs.
On the telephone connection. But don't worry, that'll get worked out. That's a minor detail. It's just a matter of getting the damn machine to cooperate. Congratulations on the show. You're doing great. Joe Barton's great. Everything's great. It's good. Happy birthday one day for Molly.
Thank
you. It was her birthday yesterday, everybody, so wish her a happy birthday and keep up all the good work. Listen, I'm going to hang up because Steve's calling and Norman Curlin down in
Bye, Harold.
Alexandria. So we're going to talk to him about economics and try to get the Skype thing going. So goodbye. Love you guys. Keep it up. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Okay, you're not sure what the issue is? Everyone, but they can't. Harold couldn't hear us, so.
But he was the only one so far who couldn't hear you.
Okay. Well, yeah, but other people couldn't seem to have a decent conversation with me, so
Harold's
I don't think they could hear me.
Harold's not a great receiver. He's a good transmitter. And I have to give him credit because he did kind of give an inadvertent birthday party for me last night with that wonderful show with Reed Stowe.
Right, the man who floated around the world for 1,000 days and even more.
Oh, we have
let's
a call.
try it.
Okay,
Caller.
let's try.
Have you turned down your TV set, caller?
Can we hear you now?
Hello.
1 second, Shanti screening.
I don't need screening. I don't care about screening.
Well,
the only thing I care about is that you turn your TV off or down.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello? I'm on. Hold on.
Can you hear?
Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Cut the caller off. If they won't turn down their cut the caller off. Cut the caller off. If I can hear any feedback, I'm cutting you off. It's just too annoying. Okay, that's it.
Well, Paula, you're funny when you get tough, but we'll work it out. I mean, it seems to me that Harold, I don't think they can hear us through the telephone.
But Christian, can they hear us through the phone or not?
See, this is why I wanted to test.
Okay, so if there's feedback, the reason I want to cut it off is it's just too annoying. I'm going back and forth, turn it off, don't, and they say I turned it off, and then I'm hearing my voice again delayed.
Right,
they didn't turn it off. The only way would be in the control room.
People always tell you what you want to hear. There's the problem, and
that's why I'm saying, don't tell me what I want to hear. If we hear feedback and delay, we're going to cut it off. That's what I'm trying to say. Just to help Shanti, because it's too stressful in the control room. Hello?
I hear a call.
Heavy breathing's okay, as long as it's not my heavy breathing delayed.
Well, don't you think it might be Rusty?
Maybe it's Rusty. It's okay.
Has he called you since you? That sounds like Rusty to me.
You're cutting it. Oh, I don't care. As long as I don't hear my voice.
No, but the problem is heavy breathing. I swear to God, it's Rusty.
You have an issue with heavy breathing?
Well, no, I just worry
here's
that
what I'm worried about.
obscenities are going to come out.
I don't care about obscenities. I want to protect people in the control room. Anybody that helps me, anybody that comes in here, I adore. I adore Shanti for coming in and helping me. I adore you for coming and helping me. And it's stressful in the control room.
I know, but
so if I'm battling somebody to turn down your TV set, it adds energy and stress to Shanti or whoever's helping me.
I know.
That's what I mean.
But okay, we got 2 minutes to save the world. I think,
actually, maybe I should go.
Are we off air?
Are we off air?
I guess nobody's even listening in the control room at this point. I think we're probably pretty close. Anyway, in the last minute, let's say we are still on there. Anything you want to wrap up with Joe? Because that's what we're really talking about is the people in the prisons and in the cancer wards, and that's what we really want to address, right?
Yes.
So do you have anything to say, Paula?
I wanted to bring your book, the red book, The Middle Temple.
Oh.
Talking about the...
Yeah. Well, we'll do that. All right, maybe I'll stay till tomorrow.
We have a call. Okay, let it roll. Even if we're off air, okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I guess I can't hear anyone, but I was thinking that your show is great, and your coordinator deserves a fan or air conditioner first.
You deserve a fan, so they're listening. They care. You and Joe get points. I'm a Nazi, huh? Because I like to sweat when it's hot. I just feel that...
Actually, I live not too far from you. If I can name the neighborhood, we live in Gramercy Park South.
Okay. So you can come by and test the temperature.
No.
And I met you a couple of times.
Oh, really?
But your show is over with, but congratulations. And we're talking more about K2 and Diablo and Supernova, all the artificial marijuana the dosages that you can get on the streets of New York City now for like $10 or $15. But that's being jeopardized. It might be illegal for that too, because it has the same effects as marijuana. But I'm also interested in the medicinal effects of marijuana and how you separate and decipher marijuana from, I guess, the concoction you make to treat the cancer. But take care, and I'll watch your show later.
And you can't hear me?
Thank you.
You can't
Bye-bye.
You can't hear me?
He can't hear us.
Okay, so we know, Christian, even though everybody here, all the engineers are saying they can hear you.
This is why
I don't think they can hear you.
But this is why I wanted to test it.
Oh, to see if you could hear. Why don't you call in right now, and we'll keep the tapes rolling, because I stopped recording. I started recording late.
Oh,
so this will be the unofficial version.
All right.
Yeah, go out and do it. So now this is going to be like self-knowledge. We're going to call ourselves. It's going to be like meditation. We're going to see if we can get in touch with ourselves. Molly's going to go out with her cell phone, and she's going to walk out the doors, which is 537 West 59th. And the reason I like to take this opportunity to emphasize that this is 537 West 59th is because I have this dream. I have this hope that we'll not only get call-ins, which can be anonymous. I'm hoping people will actually walk in, and that we will show that we are the land of the free, we are the land of the brave, we're the land of people who will stand up for their rights. Because rights are something that have to be taken care of, they have to be supported.
And if somebody stretches out a little bit beyond the envelope, it's important to follow them beyond the envelope. And then the envelope gets bigger. Then it's not so edgy. Then it's normal. And then what you've included in what's normal is a more comfortable and a freer and a more fun space. If you're only out at the edge, maybe you get sort of a hit off being an outlaw. Joe Barton, after I think he went through a lot of heartbreak. There's his wife nursing their baby in the courts. They're swaying the juries. 2 juries are thrown out. They finally give them a jury not of peers, of 65-year-olds, and the judge finally gets a ruling against them. Prior to that, both of the juries were going to go for them. That has to be a painful experience. So, is that Molly? Is that Molly calling it? I have. This is a real call. But they can't hear me. And I'm not going out on television, so Molly was going to call, so people can't hear me. I know you can't see me because we're off air. We're just trying to work out all of the chinks and the problems. But anyway, getting back to Joe Barton. So after 23 years old, Joe pretty much got this psychological profile of himself as an outlaw. And I said, I love the stuff he's doing in courts. Believe me, it's really exciting because the study of law, religion, and philosophy was the same study. So if you're going to go down one path, say pure philosophy, you're going to hit religion and law. If you go down pure law, you're going to hit religion and philosophy.
Friendly.
Hello? I can hear somebody, but somebody can't hear me.
I can't
yes.
hear.
Can you hear
me?
Molly? No.
Yes, you can. I can't hear anything.
I can hear Molly.
I can hear myself.
Okay. She can hear herself, but she can't hear
me.
I
can't. Oh,
she can't hear me. So
I can hear myself.
So at least it's not me, because I feel unheard. It's because I'm technically, I actually am not being heard. It's like a huge psychoanalytic session, or what I imagine a huge psychoanalytic session to be like, where you just talk. It's called the talking cure. Molly, I wish we could have a dialogue. We will. Someday it'll happen. But anyway, so Joe Barton doesn't have a problem considering himself an outlaw living outside. Living outside the law, you're called an outlaw. And that sounds really bad and wrong. But when it comes to studying the saints and the artists and creative people, where have their ideas come from except outside the box, outside the law? If you're an artist and you're doing something really new, you're going to be extending yourself outside the laws that you're learning in art school. But it's always good to have the laws down pat so you know what the rules are. Then after that, you can play a more successful game. And what's very exciting that's happening now with the Joe Barton and J. Depperman court case is
sorry.
Molly?
No, I can't hear anything.
Okay, so
but you can hear me.
You can hear you.
I can hear you.
All right, I'll just
I hear you.
Hang on the line, right?
I'll keep talking.
Do you want me to keep talking?
I can hear them, and we can post this later on.
Listen out.
Okay.
So the point is I don't get any joy out of considering myself an outlaw, but I do get a lot of joy out of considering how I can be a better social contributor. And in order to do that, you have to go outside the boundaries. So one person may determine that as an outlaw, and another person may just talk about innovative methods to stretch the envelope. And I would like to think that my viewers, just by allowing this information into their awareness, are already searching for bigger ideas, bigger thoughts, bigger concepts. Because the same old culprits that are being, drawn out and sort of danced before us as the reasons for our economic and psychological and physical woes, i.e. why people are on so much medication, it's just not working. It's not cutting it. So people are saying if we're not getting effective answers, it's because we're not asking the right questions, or we're not being led to ask the right questions. But if we can start to have courage to ask the right questions, and it can start just as a call-in. Just if we have that call-in, we can already begin to exercise our ability to say, hey, I want to know more, and I want to share my viewpoint with your viewpoint. You have cared enough to go down to Manhattan Neighborhood Network to take all these classes, and so I respect that enough to watch you, and now I want you to respect my thoughts, to take this call and to consider it, and then more than that, to throw it open to the audience and see what the audience is thinking about it. And in this way, I think we can have a robust economy because it'll be based truly on democracy, and a democracy where ideas are shared. But a lot of people who are going into the legalities of why they're feeling so terrorized when they're smoking are beginning to realize we really aren't a democracy. We never were intended to be a democracy. We were intended to be a republic. And a republic means that people vote for the most popular person, and that most popular person then has greater responsibility to serve, not to tyrannize, not to figure out how to boss around, not to figure out how to buy politicians and hide behind the scenes and be the monopolists that are raking in a lot of cash, because all you're going to have is a lot of cash and a lot of money and nobody to play with. That's what happens. You all remember playing Monopoly, how it would work. At the very end of the game, somebody's got all the hotels and a lot of cash, and you can't even go around the board without having to go to jail. That's pretty much how the system is working. And it's just not a very fun game. And the purpose of Monopoly is to show that. Originally, the game of Monopoly was called the landlord game. And it was called the landlord game because it was done in the Depression on somebody's sort of oilcloth tablecloth. They sort of marked it out. I think it was streets around Atlantic City. And later on, Parker Brothers stole the game and switched it to Monopoly. But the purpose of it, it was called the landlord game. It was to show principles of Henry George, that monopoly is what kills society. And if our society is dying and being killed, it's because of monopoly. They're monopolizing the drugs that we want. They're plying down our throats drugs that we don't want. And we don't have access to all our resources. So I would say go down to the Center for Modern Psychoanalytic Studies, get involved in a program of psychoanalysis. If you're poor, they can make you a sweetheart deal. You know, poverty should not prevent anyone from unfolding their full potential. And psychoanalytic, you want to talk with me, Shanti? They're just testing things, and they want to hear us talking.
Oh, darling, you have no idea. We got all the
Let's talk about psychoanalysis.
I just want you to know we got all the minds in the Manhattan Neighborhood Network trying to work on this problem.
What we're doing right now
Right.
Okay.
Because clearly people are not hearing me. So at least I don't have to take it personally, because I was just feeling like I'm in a vacuum.
And so was
talking,
Chris.
talking.
Chris was turning pale.
Really? Wondering what was happening.
Oh, he just didn't. I mean, and now he feels better because nobody else knows what's going on.
Right.
Ty doesn't even know.
Right, right. So if the people can't hear us without that delay, I think in the past they used to hear from the television set. And if there's no delay, that's not a problem. But when there's a delay, I say something and they wait until it comes on the television for them to respond. Hello? I heard...
We were trying to do them
I heard a little something. Joe Friendly will come tomorrow. We can work on this more.
No, it's got to...
Earlier calls were hearing you.
They didn't act like they were.
Because they responded to something.
You know why? Because they heard me on the television with the delay. That's why.
No, I mute.
Hello. All right.
I'm mute.
Is that Molly? Is that Molly? It's Molly.
Nothing. I can't hear, yeah, nothing.
I'm glad we're recording
You know what we can do?
this. This will make an interesting show.
Can you guys turn the sound down in the speaker studio, please?
How does my haircut look? Because I want Carol to look good, so people will go down and get a haircut from her, and people will get
There's
sponsored.
so much to see in you, you know. It's your eyes, it's your hair, it's your blouse, it's your message, it's your charm. I mean,
all right,
they just
lay
gotta
it on,
focus
lay
your
it on.
hair. I mean, you're a composite.
Did you hear what I was saying, though, about shutting off the TV because I want to support you in the control room?
Yeah,
Doesn't that drive you crazy when you hear my voice echoing?
Nice people, and I would say, I could tell right away that their TV was down. I said, "Your TV down?" I said, "Yeah." They say it's down. I want it off, and they say I have it on mute. I mean, little things like that. They were very cooperative.
But
Lovely
then how?
people
But then
called.
how come I kept hearing the TV? Where's the TV coming from?
There were several calls. You got several calls, by the way, and people called back, and all the rest. You had about a half a dozen calls.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, really.
Because I love my viewers.
I can do my SNL
What's
impression
SNL?
of Saturday Night Live.
What's SNL?
They have
Stand here.
The governor of...
Whoa. No, come and stand here, Molly.
It's not you.
Because we are recording. So she said that people were turning it down, so
Yes.
it was mute. So I was getting angry at my callers for not turning it down.
Well,
so
in
it
some
must have.
instances you were right.
It must have come from somewhere else then.
Hang on, I need to get in the shot
And then
more.
some
Just
and
keep
some
talking.
and some and some of them and some
I'm gonna call again. Keep talking.
had background.
Thanks for all your
your patience.
attention.
She's got to fix it for the show later on.
She's got another.
Fix it for the show later on. So I'm just giving myself a little bit more headroom.
Oh, right, I love it.
And some people had their own background noise.
Okay, so
like dogs and cats.
So
and
Shanti
people,
said that she had
kids.
nice callers,
Yeah.
and she would tell them turn it down, and they would mute it so they could still see me.
Right.
But that I was hearing feedback in all of them.
I know. Well, someone
every single one.
What I understand.
And then I wouldn't hear them at all, and then I
And
thought
you didn't
I
get all the
insulted
calls.
them.
You didn't get all the calls.
Can I say
Yes.
something?
Please.
From what I understand, and I'm not naming any names, somebody went in, and don't worry, they can hear me, Paula.
Okay.
If you just keep that close. Someone went in and fiddled with the soundboard or something, that this is something completely different. Because Shanti was saying that there was another show coming up, and he said this is something completely different. So we're having technical difficulties, but I'll stay for tomorrow.
Okay. Isn't that sweet? That guy called in and said, give him a fan. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't catch
After we went off air, somebody kept it.
No.
He did a stream of consciousness. My viewers learned from me. I'm just sitting here, blah, 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 blah. Why should I do psychoanalysis? I do it all the time when there's technical difficulties and I can't hear. I'm just talking and talking and talking.
No, but Paula, I was explaining to the TV audience that I wasn't going to be on tomorrow because I